BBC, you had one job, just the one, to make me, as a Doctor Who viewer, excited for the 13th Doctor's era. Right now, you're botching it. Hello guys, welcome. If you've already seen my channel before, welcome back. I am the Philadelphia Whovian. And what am I talking about when I talk about this video? Well, it's a culmination, a journey, if you will, of everything I've been seeing so far up until the opening of Series 11 featuring the 13th Doctor. Now, there were times where I literally kept my mouth shut and I kind of held off things I was observing and my reactions to them, and I was willing to open up and say, you know what, I really am going to look forward to this new season and give it the benefit of the doubt. But here's the problem. Every time I do that and say I'm going to give it a chance, I'm going to look at it for what it is, not what it isn't, or, base it on this or this reason or here, whereby it's saying I'm going to see it for what it is, there's some new release that comes out that makes me really angry with the attitude they're having going into Series 11 and the 13th Doctor era, and that's in reaction to how they treat the previous eras of Doctor Who and the previous Doctors. Where did this discomfort begin with me? Okay, it actually began with something that Chris Eccleston, who played the actor who played the 9th Doctor, he said upon the idea of Jodie Whittaker being cast as 13th Doctor. Now, for the longest time, I did not react to this comment because I thought maybe there's a chance this comment was not real. Like someone put his picture there and just pasted a quote that he said that he didn't actually say. Because sometimes people say things, but the truth is that's not actually true what someone actually said. It was just someone writing something what they felt. But it's not really true to the actor's feelings. But all the research I've done about this quote that Chris Eccleston said was in fact real. And Chris Eccleston said about Jodie Whittaker's casting, skinny white men, something like this, he said, well, the role has been occupied by skinny white men for long enough, or like too long, something like that. And when I first saw that quote, I'm not going to lie, my first instinct was to kick Chris Eccleston in the balls. I blatantly admit that. But then I thought to myself, maybe he did not say that. Maybe someone said he said that and just wrote a quote there, but he never actually said that. If he did not actually say that, could you please comment below and let me know he did not actually say that? Because all the evidence I've researched so far implies that he did in fact say that. Okay. Why was I angry when that was said by Chris Eccleston? Because I thought that was a humongous insult to the 10th, 11th, and 12th Doctor, or the actors playing the 10th, 11th, and 12th Doctors. That just undermined each of those actors' 3 years of effort and attempt to build a character, all just completely ignored or overlooked or just completely dismissed because of a stupid comment that Chris Eccleston thought was right to make. Now, I understand the impulse behind that comment. It's trying to build up the idea of a woman being the Doctor. I am fine with that, but here's the problem with that. Here's the major problem. I am fine with the idea of building up the idea of female Doctor, but not at the expense of degrading, overlooking, or dismissing all the previous actors who played the Doctor. I find that to be a heavy insult to, their eras, as if Jodie Whittaker, her era shows that, those eras, they went on for long enough. It went on for too long. No, they did not go on for too long. You know what? When it comes to David Tennant, Matt Smith, and Peter Capaldi, I appreciate all the effort and work they put into their tenures. I really do, as I appreciate all the actors who came before Chris Eccleston. And Chris Eccleston was here for 1 year in the show before he left it. And I know he doesn't have much good feeling and good memories of the show because of how things ended. And he got blacklisted, I suppose, after the show ended. But here's the problem. That is neither David Tennant, nor Matt Smith, nor Peter Capaldi's fault. They are not to blame for how BBC ended up ultimately treating Christopher Eccleston. He has a reason to be upset with BBC, but at the same time, here's the problem for me with Chris Eccleston. Again, he was here for 1 year, and I know there are people who absolutely love his Doctor. You know what? While I do appreciate things he did with the role, Ninth Doctor is not my favorite Doctor. I have a few reasons why he's not my favorite. But he was here for 1 year, and then Chris Eccleston leaves, and he doesn't even respect his fan base, or doesn't even consider his fan base. Those fans who consider him to be the best Doctor don't love him enough to have come back for the Day of the Doctor. Now, I know The Day of the Doctor is not my favorite multi-Doctor story or my favorite episode by far. It's not. And I will say, by Chris Eccleston not coming back, he gave me a chance to see John Hurt as the Doctor for one episode, which was always nice. But it doesn't stop the fact that Chris Eccleston, you know what? Okay. As someone who has been, like you, Chris Eccleston, dismissed by the BBC, for reasons I'll get into one day in my later videos, and in some ways, you know, kind of rejected from writing opportunities because of BBC. I'll get into that later. The day I forget about the fan base I once had is never. And I continue to try and serve that fan base long after I was not allowed to do so. I attempted to. And for Chris Eccleston to have never come back for the Day of the Doctor, knowing it hurt Moffat, and Moffat was not there, and he was not in power with that. When that went down with Chris Eccleston and BBC, Moffat had no control over that. To have let his animosity keep going to the point where Chris did not even return for his fans to give them that one moment. You know what? I'm not going to lie. Usually I respect, even if I don't like a Doctor, I respect the actor who played the Doctor. I lost a lot of respect for Chris Eccleston for not caring about his fan base enough to think, you know what, it's time to get over my pride and come back solely for my fans. You gotta learn to do things for your fans. And like I said before, usually when it comes to doctors and the actors playing the doctors, I respect all the actors playing the doctors. There are some doctors I like more than actors, but I separate them from the doctor they play. I always respect the actor even if I don't like their doctor. This is one time where I'm not going to lie. If Chris Eccleston really said that, I lost a great deal of respect for him, and I don't care one iota about his Doctor very much because of it. Then again, I was not crazy about the Ninth Doctor to begin with. I have my reasons. If you want to watch my reasons, go back and watch my video about Series 1 being perfect or overrated. Which one is it? I discuss my feelings towards the Ninth Doctor. I don't hate him. He's just not my favorite. But this is one time where I admit I was very upset with Chris Eccleston because in his desire to build up Jodie Whittaker, he dismissed he kind of like dismissed the efforts of David Tennant, Matt Smith, and Peter Capaldi to build up Jodie Whittaker. Don't do that. And if he meant it as a joke, it was in poor taste. If he said afterwards, and it was not mentioned in the quotes, he said, I'm just joking, I still respect them, then my bad. If you could let me know in the comment section, good. But to all my knowledge, the way he described it was as if he said, and heavily implied, hey, you know what, the Doctor's been played long enough by a skinny white guy. No, I don't need you to degrade the efforts of those skinny white guys to build up Jodie Whittaker. And it's also a grave insult to his successors. This is something I do not like. When the show does not respect, or the actor who does Doctor Who, etc. and so forth, and the show itself, by extension, also does not respect one Doctor's predecessors and successors. Why am I saying that? Because, one, I do feel it, but also number two, because of what I've been seeing recently when doing more research into Series 11 and the writers and their attitudes towards Series 11. And something I saw in the discussion of Series 11 is how they are going to do a rapid departure and improvement on the show to make it more lively, to make it livelier. The Doctor's going to be livelier, and they're going to abandon all that silliness, etc. and so forth. They're building up Series 11 by downplaying and offending and making fun of the previous series. And again, this is by extension mocking the previous Doctors, or not mocking, or dismissing the effort of the actors who played the previous Doctors. And I'm like, as if David Tennant and Matt Smith, their errors, as if they were not lively enough, as if they were not this or this or this. They are, I literally, from the quotes I've seen, I'm not lying, the quotes I've seen where attitudes going into Series 11 is to, in some way, act like before it was not good enough. Now we're going to be awesome. Now we're going to be this, this, and this. One, that never works. That plan, that political agenda there, or that marketing idea never works. For example, and I'm not going to glide here, when I was looking on Pinterest one day, and this is 3 years ago, I was on Pinterest, and there was an article about Peter Capaldi being cast as the Doctor. There was one article saying how Peter Capaldi is going to save Doctor Who. And I remember reading that, and when I saw that, I remember immediately getting offended and thinking, I don't recall Doctor Who needing saving. And if it did, I find that heavily offensive to Matt Smith's time as the Doctor and dismissing him. And this gave me an ugly and an incredible distaste towards Peter Capaldi's time. I was like really hesitant now to get into it because I didn't like how they refer to Matt Smith by making him, by like building up Peter Capaldi. They in some ways hinted that Matt Smith's era was not good enough. I was offended by this, heavily offended. And I thought I was the only one. And here's the thing. People, when they say that, Peter Capaldi lost fans because all the fangirls left when an older actor took over, while that can be true and definitely probably is, here's the thing about my personal experience. The only people I personally met who stopped watching the show after Matt Smith left were men. I don't know one female Whovian who stopped watching the show when Matt Smith left. They still preferred Matt Smith to Peter Capaldi, but they still keep watching the show. The only ones who stopped watching, for me, were males. One of them, it turns out he read the same article I read about how Peter Capaldi is going to save Doctor Who. And how he was so great towards, Jenna Coleman. And what makes him great was he was great towards his co-stars. He said this automatically made him not want to watch Peter Capaldi's run because, first of all, he's like, that's crap. I know for a fact that he said this, that Matt Smith was great with a lot of his companions, the actors. They liked him. They admired him. And he overall could be fun with them. Number one. Number two, as if the Doctor Who needed saving, and this is disrespectful towards Matt Smith's run. A man lost appeal, like Peter Capaldi's era lost appeal to him because it did not respect Matt Smith's era by making it seem like Peter Capaldi was going to improve the era. It's like, no, you do not help things by offending the thing it is coming in after. You actually are alienating a side of the fan base. Another good example of this is when you had the Ghostbusters reboot with the 4 women taking the role of the males. And people say, okay, the reason why Ghostbusters didn't do well is because of men being, or the fans being sexist towards women. No, maybe there was animosity to begin with, but it was encouraged and the animosity was helped by the simple fact that of the marketing, the director or the producers, either way side of it, they immediately start attacking the fan base and calling them out for being sexist towards women, etc. and so forth because of it. Even if there are sexist remarks, that is not a good way to go about it, to offend your fan base and therefore alienating them, or to offend the thing they love and again alienating them. No, you are, by offending the thing they loved, you are immediately losing a part of the audience for yourself. I don't know why you guys do not learn this, but with the new quotes and the new articles I've seen about, and of course I've not seen all of the articles about Series 11. There are probably some that praise the previous show, etc. and so forth. I'm just talking about the ones I've seen. If there are other ones that are just come out, etc. and so forth, that are giving all this credit to all the previous doctors, saying no, we respect their time. Sorry I did not see that article. If you could please give me the link, that would be great. All the ones that I've seen so far, in some way, shape, or form, are degrading the previous series. Not just Peter Capaldi's run, but all of them for the longest time, accusing them of saying, don't worry, we're going to take it in a good direction now, where it's going to be livelier, the Doctor's going to be better, and then the Doctor Who era is going to have more of this, more of this, more of this, and it's going to completely do away with all that silliness and foolishness of the previous eras. I've said it before, I'll say it again. You want to build up Jodie Whittaker? Fine. I am perfectly fine with that. That is understandable. But you do not do it at the expense of dismissing all of the men who came before her. No, you do not. You are not going to endear yourself to me as a fan by dismissing all of those men who put all this effort into building up this character. You are not going to dismiss it to build her up. You are not being feminist here. No, you are not. You do not. You're not being feminist by degrading men in any way, shape, or form. You're not being progressive by degrading white men in any way, shape, or form. I am sick of this mentality. It needs to die. It really, really does. It needs to die. I know you're thinking, these articles are not real. I made them up. No, I don't. I did not make them up. They exist. I'm not giving you all the full wording for it, but trust me, they're out there. Those articles are out there. And every time you do stuff like that, where you are dismissive of the previous eras that came before Jodie Whittaker's Doctor, if that is your intention, you miss the point of Doctor Who. You literally miss the point of Doctor Who. Again, BBC has missed the point of this show. Their own show they claim to know so well. And you're not going to endear me towards you. Because I've said it before, I'll say it again. If men are not being treated well, then I don't care how you're treating women. If men are not being treated well, you're not treating women well. Just as if women are not being treated well, men are not being treated well. We're all connected to me in that way. If you degrade one, you're degrading all. You have to understand that. You do. You really do. And again, back to Chris Eccleston, what he said there. If that is very true, again, I've lost a lot of respect for Chris Eccleston's time as the Doctor even more than... Before that, I liked his performance. I liked Chris Eccleston's performance. But I did not care when... I was okay with his Doctor, but I wasn't crazy about his Doctor. I've always respected every actor who played the Doctor in their time as the Doctor. I've always done that. Even though I'm not crazy about the 10th Doctor, I know David Tennant did an amazing job as the 10th Doctor. And Matt Smith did a over the moon and his Doctor. Matt and his Doctor were overwhelmingly awesome as the 11th Doctor. And Peter Capaldi, well, I didn't always like his run, the writing to his era. I could tell he still was giving 100%, even though sometimes it did not always land. He was still very good most of the time. I am still going to respect those doctors and those actors who came after you, Chris. You need to respect them too. They do things for their fans. They do. You couldn't even come back for one episode to be there for your fans. And I admit, I lose respect for an actor when they just don't care that much about their fans in that regard. I mean, I understand if the same people were in control of the Day of the Doctor as they were during your time, but it's a whole different set of people who came in. It's one story, one episode. You should have at least considered doing it. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of Day of the Doctor. It's not my favorite multi-doctor story. But you got to think about your fans. If you're not going to think about me as your fan, I'm not going to think much about you. If you're not going to think much about your successors, or if you're going to in some way dismiss them to build up this one person, I'm not going to respect you that much. I'm not going to. You got to respect. If you're going to be my favorite, actor and Doctor alike of that incarnation, you have to respect your predecessors and your successors. And stop making all white men look bad by degrading their work because they're white men. There are some great white men in the world. There are some bad white men in the world. Unfortunately, there's probably still some of those bad white men who still work at BBC and control all this crap. Either way, if you do this one more time, BBC, where you dismiss or you overlook or degrade previous incarnations of the Doctor and previous works, the work of the actors give into playing that Doctor, if you dismiss that or overlook it or degrade it to build up the 13th Doctor, that's when I stop watching Doctor Who. One more time. Do it one more time. I beg of you. I beg of you. One more time. I am not going to watch this show anymore. You treat white men perfectly well. You respect their work the way you respect us black people, our work, or Asian people, or this people, male and female. You respect all the work that goes into these things. Learn from your mistakes, because you have not learned yet. And again, if there are any articles that have showing how, like, you know, this writer or this producer still respects previous incarnations and previous series of the show, you can let me know below. I'm just talking about the ones I've seen so far. And if Chris Eccleston, it turns out that was all lies to belittle him, all the quotes I found or all the things I found about him saying stuff like that somehow was all staged, you can let me know. I will listen to the comment section. I will then say, hey, I was wrong. The proof I was given was not correct. I will easily say that. Very easily. But until no evidence comes forward, I admit, Chris, I'm very upset. Chris Eccleston, I mean. I'm not happy that you said that you're not helping me as a woman by you know, saying men occupied the role for too long. No, they didn't. It started out as a male character. Of course, they kept the male thing going for a long time. It's just the way the show was set up originally. It was not trying to offend me as a woman. It was not. You got to look at it that way, please. But again, if there are any articles or any of these, if anything I said proves false, it turns out the evidence that I looked up was wrong, please let me know in the comment section. But you got to make sure you give me a link or something showing that, no, this article was wrong. This is what they really feel. It's got to be some proof. That's all I'm saying. Some proof. So thank you so much, guys, for watching. And again, I want to look forward to the 13th Doctor era, and I want to give Series 11 a chance, but if it keeps on doing this, where it just belittles the previous seasons, or belittles the previous doctors and all the work that went into those doctors, just because the doctors are male, or it's heavily implied that it's like they're degrading these people because they are male, then you know what? I understand if you disagree with me. I do. But I'm not wrong. I'm just giving you a different perspective of something that needs to be talked about. I know we're in a world where if something bad happens to a man, it's not sexist. If it happens to a woman, then it is sexist. And therefore I am seeming like I'm backwards, or I am incongruous and inappropriate for talking about how men are perceived and men should be looked at and men should be regarded. The things I say sometimes are not going to make you happy, but I have to talk about them. And I'm going to talk about them. I am not your slave. I am not your slave. So I have the right to talk about things that seem to me to be important to talk about. I do not owe you my change of opinion to cater to anyone else, but my own idea of what is right. So thank you so much very much, guys. Thank you so very much for listening. This video was longer than I expected. My bad. Whoops. Hope to see you guys again very soon. I'm the Philadelphia Whovian, and again, it's okay if you disagree with me. Just understand it's okay that I disagree with you. Peace out, guys.